Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam. Reading from Canto 1, chapter number 10, verse number 15 and 16. Okay. Verse number 15. Mridanga Shanka Bhiryascha Veena Panavagomuka Dundurya Anaka Ghantadaya Nedur Dhundupyashtata Mridanga Shanka Bhiryascha Veena Panavagomuka Dhundurya Anaka Ghantadaya Nedur Dhundupyashtata. Translation. While the Lord was departing from the palace of Hastinapura, different types of drums, like the Mridanga, Dola, Nagara, Dhunduri, and Dhundubi, and flutes of different types, the Veena, Gomukha, Bheri, all sounded together to show him honor. Verse number 16. Prasada shiksharurudha kurunarayo didrikshaya vyavashur kusumai krishnam prema virida smitekshana prasada shiksharurudha kurunarayo didrikshaya Vyavashur Kushmai Krishnam Prema Viridasam Smitekshana. Translation. Out of loving desire to see the Lord, the royal ladies of the Kurus got up on top of the palace and smiling with affection and shyness, they showered flowers upon the Lord. Purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shyness is a particular extra-natural beauty of the fair sex, and it commands respect from the opposite sex. This custom was observed even during the days of Mahabharata, that is, more than 5,000 years ago. It is only the less intelligent persons, not well versed in the history of the world, who say that observance of separation of female from the male is an introduction of the Mohammedan period in India. This incident from the Mahabharata period proves definitely that the ladies of the palace observed strict parda, restricted association with men, and instead of coming down into the open air where Lord Krishna and others were assembled, the ladies of the palace went up on the top of the palace and from there paid their respects to Lord Krishna by showers of flowers. It is definitely stated here that the ladies were smiling there on top of the palace, checked by shyness. This shyness is a gift of nature to the fair sex, and it enhances their beauty and prestige, even if they are of a less important family, or even if they are less attractive. We have practical experience of this fact. A sweeper woman commanded the respect of many respectable gentlemen simply by manifesting ladies' shyness. Half-naked ladies in the street do not command any respect, but a shy sweeper's wife commands respect from all. Human civilization, as conceived of by the sages of India, is to help one free himself from the clutches of illusion. The material beauty of a woman is an illusion because actually the body is made of earth, water, fire, air, etc. But because there is the association of the living spark with matter, it appears to be beautiful. No one is attracted by the earthen doll, even if it is most perfectly prepared to attract the attention of others. The dead body has no beauty because no one will accept the dead body of the so-called beautiful woman. Therefore, the conclusion is that the spirit spark is beautiful, and because of the soul's beauty, one is attracted by the beauty of the outward body. The Vedic wisdom therefore forbids us to be attracted by false beauty. But because we are now in the darkness of ignorance, the Vedic civilization allows very restricted mixing of woman and man. They say the woman is considered to be fire and the man is considered to be butter. The butter must melt in the association with fire, and therefore they may be brought together only when it is necessary. The shyness is checked. The shyness is a check to the unrestricted mixing. It is nature's gift, and it must be utilized. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatali Satarine. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, welcome to everyone to today morning's Srimad Bhagavatam reading. So before I start my reading, first of all, I'd like to seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas here. I want to something that I has been meditating upon, or something actually I read a few days ago. Two things actually. The first thing is the children. We have a reading program that happens every evening. Not every evening, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And they are reading right now Your Ever Well-Wisher, Srila Prabhupada's book, right? An abridged version of Lila. So this was about a week ago. I was reading for the kids, and there was a passage that really stuck me. The pastime that's happening right now is Srila Prabhupada came to New York City. He came from Pennsylvania to New York City to start his movement. And then Howard, he was a very nice gentleman that Srila Prabhupada appreciated. And Howard was interested in, Howard is actually Haikuru Swami. He was very interested in Eastern philosophy. So he actually traveled to India, right? And then this is the first time he comes to meet Srila Prabhupada. And there was one line that really stuck me very well, right? What stuck me there was when Howard met Srila Prabhupada, in his own words, he says, this isn't a person who became self-realized overnight and he decided to start a preaching movement. That sentence, for some reason, stuck with me, right? The reason why I say that is, at least putting myself, sometimes whenever I share my realizations or whatnot, these are something that came up overnight as a thought process, and all of a sudden, like a teenager who wants to change this whole world, I jump about sharing my own realizations as if they are Shastra and whatnot. So, that really stuck me. I said, I need to be very, very thoughtful when I'm sharing anything, especially when, virtually sitting on a Vyasasana and speaking my own thoughts. So, I'd like to put that forward. Anything I say, please take it with a grain of salt. When I share my own realizations, please don't feel that this is something that I practiced for a while and then this is what I'm sharing. But a few thoughts here and there. But I think it definitely gave me some inspiration to think about or be careful of what I speak about too. The second one is also, His Holiness Rampada Swami has been taking a series, over the Thanksgiving break, he's been taking a series of lectures on the Putana pastime. And Maharaj very clearly says Putana pastime in one sense depicts false gurus. So again, I feel so embarrassed to give Bhagavatam class and share my own realizations here. But I think something here and there that I picked from other speakers that have spoken over the last several weeks, something really stuck with my heart. I would and what I was meditating, I would like to share a few thoughts there. So, so today's verse, right? I think Srila Prabhupada beautifully explains the context to today's verse is the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, who has been with the, all through the incident of Mahabharata, meaning the war happening and everything. He's been staying with the Pandavas in Hastinapur, and all the devotees or all the residents of Hastinapur were benefiting from his life darshan, performing services to him and whatnot. And now Krishna is ready to leave Hastinapur, right? And we earlier read. I think this whole conversation starts with the question from Sutta Goswami, where he poses a question: how did Yudhishthira Maharaj rule? Right? Once he got the instructions from Bhishma Dev and the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, how did he rule? And then in giving the answer to Sutta Goswami, not Sutta Goswami, the sages of Naimisharanya, Sutta Goswami is narrating. So he spoke about how Maharaj Yudhishthira ruled. There was eloquent speakers who spoke about the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira. And now he's taking us to where Krishna is leaving Hastinapur and the feelings that are being experienced by the devotees, the kind of feelings, right? So as Krishna is about to leave Hastinapur, we see now in this particular verse, the ladies of the palace, meaning the people of Hastinapur, they were coming out of their houses as Krishna is leaving on his chariot, right? And then I think there's a very, very unique thing that Srila Prabhupada is bringing up, the concept of shyness. We see these royal ladies, they did not come onto the streets, of Hastinapur to stop Krishna. They were standing on the rooftops, they were hiding behind the walls, and then they were showering flowers on Krishna. So in this context, Srila Prabhupada is highlighting the quality of shyness, how shyness is a very unique quality that can command respect. So there's a famous statement I think I've heard in the past: one should never demand respect, but they should command respect. What does that mean? Often we see in this world, at least in the perverted reflection in this material world, if somebody says something wrong to us, we immediately say, he's not respectful to me, or he's not a respectful person, he doesn't respect people at all, or whatnot. So the way one can receive respect is not necessarily by demanding respect. What it means is, especially, when we deal with children, we can correlate with us, my son does not respect at all. He doesn't respect the elders at all, or whatnot, right? So it's easy to say, you should be respecting people. You should be respecting people. I mean, that's an analogy we should obviously teach children. But when we say, that person should respect me, or this person is not respecting me, what it is we are expecting a certain etiquette from them. So that is one way to get, to say, following etiquette is one way to expect a respect, right? Or demand respect. But there's another way too, right? For example, by the way we conduct ourselves, how we behave, and how we execute our daily duties, if we do it nicely, you automatically command respect. That is command respect, meaning automatically people will want to respect you. For example, if I'm a person who talks ill about other people, who does prajalpa or whatnot, very likely whoever you're indulged with in prajalpa or whatnot, they will not respect you. But however, if we conduct in a Vaishnavic manner, we command respect. And Srila Prabhupada gives a great example down here, right? He compares the half-naked ladies that are on the street versus a street sweeper, a lady who is a street sweeper. This actually comes in Lilamrita also, where this is a nice incident where Srila Prabhupada, I believe Srila Prabhupada is in Vrindavan, and then he was staying, I don't know which place he was staying, I don't know the exact details of this. He was staying at a place, and there were a lot of senior sannyasis, very, very senior sannyasis, who were standing in the way of the corridor to Srila Prabhupada's room. They were waiting for Srila Prabhupada to come out or something like that. Then a street sweeper, meaning a lady who's, in India, in Indian social status, she's not necessarily in a very high status, it's pretty much in the lower status from a social perspective, right? She has to go across, she has to go across this group of people in the corridor, right? So what happens is she walks down there, and usually, women in India, for example, they don't, as an etiquette, she did not say, move to the side, excuse me, or anything like that. She didn't even speak a single word. She walks there, and she shyly puts her head down like this, that's it. And then immediately, like these great sannyasis who are respected and renowned all over the world, who have followers and whatnot, immediately everybody made room for her to just walk by. So without even saying a single word, you can think, she made the greatest people make a way for her. What was the quality that she used? The quality of shyness. Just by bowing down, immediately everybody moved and made way to her. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is highlighting here. She says, a sweeper woman commanded the respect of many respectable gentlemen simply by manifesting the lady's shyness. So, it may, and I think as we go further down, Srila Prabhupada is talking about how one should deal with women and the etiquettes of women and whatnot. However, I would like to diverge a little bit, right? In this modern day world, especially, I think, I don't want to sound like a sexist person who's discriminating men versus women, but I think that I feel that there's something called an identity crisis. And that's not only with women or anybody, it's even with every individual. There's a feeling of there's an identity crisis. What I mean by identity crisis is we always want to be something else. We always want to be, we don't want to be ourselves. In this case, Srila Prabhupada is saying, a woman is shy versus an artificial naked ladies, who are standing on the street saying, I have my freedom, staying naked. They don't necessarily command respect. They're ill-treated, mistreated, and everything. Versus a person who naturally accepts their own identity, immediately commands that respect and is given respect in society very naturally. So when I say identity crisis, each one of us, and I also want to take extend this conversation to a prior discussions we had in the same of Bhagavatam class. Is the identity crisis we always run into is, as sadhakas, we always want to do something different, something more. I'm not generalizing this, at least, speaking about myself, right? We are giving simple instructions to do some simple things, but we want to do something different, something totally different, with the hope that I will get a different, I'll get a different form of identification or whatnot. I'm probably not stating the statement in the perfect way, but maybe the examples that I give in the next few, in the next context will maybe help us, right? So in my prior class, I gave this, we discussed about how an individual becomes sometimes dissatisfied in the services that we are performing, right? And I also want to highlight and actually thank Mukunda. I don't know if he's on this call. Something that really struck me when I asked a question to Mukunda and he answered my question and I meditated more upon it. My question to Mukunda was, and I forgot the exact context in which I asked, but my question, and this question always lingered in my mind, right? Because, often in the mode of passion, we run to jump into services, we perform that service for some time, and then we jump to another service, like a monkey jumping from one tree to another tree to another tree, right? So one question that always came to my mind is, I always say in the name of Krishna service, I think I'm doing bhakti, but internally I'm satisfying my false ego. And how I cross-check that is, if Krishna were to come to this material world, right? If Krishna came to Naperville, and we were given the opportunity to perform for service for Krishna, not for an hour, not for a day, not for a month, but for 365 days, or maybe 10 years or 15 years or eternity, what would I be doing? Maybe first day I would jump, run in, cook prasadam, cook something, do that service, make a garland and whatnot. Day 2, day 3, day 4, day 365, day 108, day 1008. Would I still be doing that? Right? The second point is, if somebody else is performing the same service to Krishna, what would be my attitude to that devotee? A different service. Would I be jumping from the one service that I have to a different service, to a different service, to a different service? And what would be my reaction to other devotees for the services that they're performing very well, very nicely? Right? When I put this in context, right, I felt, I often we say, if you chant nicely, Antakale Chamami was Maran Muktva Kalevaram, I will remember Krishna at the time of death and we'll go back to Godhead. But what would my attitude be, even if I went back to Godhead, if I did not develop that intense desire to serve Krishna, that intense desire to see other people's, being happy in other people performing this service, if that is not developed, even if I remember Krishna at the time of death, and sorry, I'm diverting from from the scriptural injunction, but even if I remember Krishna at the time of death, did I receive the qualification to go back to Goloka Vrindavan? Absolutely not. Right? This one stuck with me when I was hearing Maharaj's lecture over the weekend. I forgot the exact question, but one point really, really, really struck me. And I tried to go back to the recording. I couldn't find it again. So I tried to search for the recording to find the exact words. I believe one of the questions that was asked is, there were other devotees who performed great, great things, wonderful things to Krishna, but still gopis are treated as the highest of all. And why? I believe, I forgot, like I said, I apologize, I don't remember the exact question, but I'm sharing my realization here is, then how did why is Krishna attracted to the gopis so much versus the others? The other devotees also got that attention from Krishna, but why did gopis get the highest attention? The subtle point that that His Holiness Rampada Swami made is, he said, the biggest quality, or the one quality that's very unique to the gopis, is they're very, very humble. In this material world, the more we portray ourselves, the more greater things we could do, the greater our service we do, we feel that that's the greatest. But in Goloka Vrindavan, the more humble we are, the more low we feel, the more while serving Krishna, the opposite is what attracts the Krishna the most. For example, if I want to do some service, and I try to push myself and do it like exaggerationally greatly or whatnot. More than that, you may do great service. You may build a big temples. You may create thousands of followers or whatnot. That is still great. Krishna will appreciate it, but he will appreciate that more when you feel humble while doing that. And you may not be doing so much great things, but if you still cultivate that humility, even in a little thing that we do, right? For example, we may be just making a small garland once a week, maybe once a month, maybe once a year. Even that rare service that we get, when we do it with humility and humbleness, that's what attracts Krishna. That one word, and again, I elaborated in my own understanding, but Maharaj made that one small comment that really reminded me about what is that makes Krishna, makes one attract Krishna, is that humility and humbleness. And that same humility and humbleness, how it commands the respect of other people that Srila Prabhupada is portraying. Right? So in this context, I want to actually thank Amritagali Mataji. in the past, I always cherished. There is a series of YouTube videos called Nectar series, Nectar verses, that His Grace Gauranga, Adbhuta Gauranga Prabhu, I think, yeah, Gauranga Priya Prabhu, yeah, he narrates very nicely. He takes one verse and nicely dissects within a matter of 3 minutes. I always wanted to do it. Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, yes, Mataji, yes. Amritakela Mataji nicely reminded me about 15 days ago. She sent me this playlist. I said, yes, Mataji, I always wanted to listen to these regularly. But as soon as she said that, sent that, and then as I was meditating to these, there were 2 verses that really attracted me, like the mood of the devotees of Goloka Vrindavan. The first verse is in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This particular verse comes. Actually, this chapter describes the kingdom of Godhead. So this is verse number canto 3, verse chapter 15, verse number 18. This describes the qualities of the birds of Vaikuntha, of Vaikuntha, right? Paravatan Bharata Sarasa Chakravaka Dundutya Hamsa Sukati Brahmairyaha Kolahalo Viramate Chiramatramuche Bringadipe Harikatam Ivagaya Manane. This is a beautiful verse that describes the singing of the various birds in Vaikuntha. Paravata meaning pigeons, Anyabrata, cuckoo, Sarasa, cranes, Charavaka. So Charavaka, if you're seeing my screen, Dhundutya. There are Hamsa, the parrots, the peacocks. There are Kolahal. They are all sounding beautiful sounds. I don't know if you're from a village like me, or most of you are from India. You must have experienced this, right? Whenever it is the season of fruits, you hear so many birds singing. You hear the cuckoo birds, you hear the parrot shouting. We used to have a nice, a sapota tree. I don't know what it's called in English, in our backyard. So many birds used to come and pluck those fruits. So beautiful, right? While all these birds are singing loudly, beautifully, even if you're like far away, if it's a quiet environment, you can hear the beautiful voices. But when a bringa, meaning when a bumblebee comes to sing, when it's turn to sing, everybody becomes quiet. It becomes absolutely silent. And the bringer comes, it's making that sound, but it becomes everybody becomes absolutely silent, so that the bringer can perform its service of Harikatha. So I felt like it's amazing that this verse is describing. These are the qualities of the residents of Vaikuntha. Forget the human being, like the people in the human form. These are the qualities of the birds in Vaikuntha, in Goloka. So in our day-to-day dealings, how should we deal with our associated devotees? When somebody is performing a service, one should not feel envious. Oh, I'm not doing that service, right? I wish I could do that service. Yes, you could wish, but if you could help that person, that is the greatness of Goloka Vrindavan, right? Nobody takes nobody's position, but they help each other in the service to Krishna. There's no competition there. There is transcendental competition. There's no envy at all. So this is how there is no envy in the spiritual world. This, for some reason, this verse really struck me, because imagine the sound of a bringa. It is so quiet, so silent, very soft. In front of a cuckoo bird, in front of a charavaka, in front of a sukha, a parrot, but they're all becoming silent. Now, how do we translate that into the current material world? Yes, this can happen in Goloka Vrindavan, but how can I cultivate the qualities of Goloka Vrindavan in here while we are living here? How can we practice that? That again comes in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in chapter number 25. This is another beautiful verse. Stitikshava karunika sudruse sarvadehina ajata satrava shantaha sadhava sadhu bhushana. How is a sadhu? The symptoms of the sadhu are, he's titikshava, he's very tolerant. Tolerant, I think Nectar of the Instruction nicely speaks about it. How are we tolerant? When somebody, is envious to us, for example, right? We tolerate it. Yes, he's in his early stages of devotion, or maybe he needs that attention now, or, yes, we tolerate it. Wait for some time. If somebody, is causing some inconvenience to us. Second one is, how can we become tolerant? By being karunika, by being merciful. Shuhrud, being friendly, sarvadehina, to all living entities. He's very friendly to all living entities. This is how we practice the qualities of the people in Vaikuntha in this material world. Because in this material world, even if you're a great devotee, you're going to experience, envy of other people. Even if one doesn't have envy, you're going to experience envy of other people. There is competition, there is this rat race, right? But one has to, in order to become qualified like the residents of the Vaikuntha, one has to cultivate the quality of a sadhu. Ajata shatrava santaha. Ajata shatrava, meaning he's not enemy to anyone. He's not inimical to anyone. Shantaha is very peaceful. How can one, and then I was thinking, how can one get this one? How can one achieve this? This again goes back, it completes the circle, right? Earlier we were talking about how if Krishna were in this material world, and if we get the opportunity to serve him 24/7, or for the rest of eternity, what is that will make me continue to serve Krishna? First one, what is that will make me friendly to other devotees who are performing this service? After thinking more about it, and I think Mukunda's answer really struck me. He, in his word, I forgot the exact words he said, but once we identify our own service to Krishna, our one little service, say for example, your service is to make a garland. Once we understand, yes, I have to do this one service to Krishna, and this is my service, and I will perfect in this service. I will not jump to making boga. If the need is there, yes, I can jump here if the need is there. But this one service, rather than comparing myself to other devotees, compare myself to a week ago, to a month ago, to 6 months ago. In the service that I'm supposed to perform, or in the service that is given to me, how was I doing 6 months ago, and how did I improve now? Then there is no envy for the service that we are doing with others. There is no fault finding with others. We will only find fault with ourselves, with our own personality 6 months ago. And we will move forward without enmity, and we will develop more and more love to Krishna in our own service. And thirdly, we will be satisfied in it. If we compare ourselves to others, there will never be satisfaction. So I know I'm going over time. I think these are a few thoughts that came to me. There are several other thoughts. Maybe I'll hold off, in order to respect time here. But in essence, this is what I wanted to add. So the identity crisis, in summary, what I felt was what Srila Prabhupada was showing us, while he was saying, the quality of shyness is a quality of woman. I thought, to take it a little more differently, because at least in this material world, I think Srila Prabhupada's purport was in the context of, how each individual is trying to be different from what they are. But in reality, we can be who we are, and we can be satisfied in the qualities in enhancing the qualities of what we are. This is what I would like to add for today. I know we are over time. I'll leave it for a little more discussion or comments or questions here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I always enjoy your classes. So, thanks for bringing a very nice point at the end. As you mentioned, one should really focus on what service has been assigned to us and let us focus on our improvement rather than comparing ourselves with the other service. So my question is, this is regarding a child I have observed in my past few years. That child is very good in one service, and when that child wanted to perform that service, and everybody knows that child is really good in that service, but because of other influence, the other children are suppressing this child. How to, for adults only we can say humility, humbleness, but for children they are natural, right? We cannot tell them. When a child says I have come first in my class, I have scored A. Oh, try to be humble. Go tell Krishna, be humble. That's totally making the child to be very not to be natural, right?
Yes,
So
Mataji.
how to deal with this situation? The child knows. We cannot say that child, oh no, why don't you find yourself, you are good in other service. Okay, go do that service. No, that child is very good in that service, particular service, where the other children are trying to pull him down, pull her down. No, you know what? You have to wait. We always say the term as click, right? CLIQUE. They always have their own circle. Will not allow others to mingle in that. If that is the situation, so what I was thinking is, for adults, okay, we will learn okay, Krishna has put me in this situation. What does Krishna wanted me to learn? Okay, let me continue with whatever I am. Everything we will as devotees, we know all the terms. We will try to okay, let me focus on myself. By hearing, yeah, it's very inspiring for us. But for the children, how can we advise the child okay, find some other service for yourself? That my concern is, will that make the child to move out of Krishna consciousness? Won't that put that child in that situation?
That's a great point. I think, at least, I haven't been, how do I say, because my children are very young, barely in elementary school, right? At least in the little observation I had, or the interactions, and I'm sure there's many more devotees on this call who went through this experience. I think there are phases of life in which a child grows, especially in the modern environment, right? I think, okay, I'll share my thing. I may be wrong. I'll just say, right? In elementary school, the child behaves in one way. In middle school, the child behaves in one way, and in high school, the child behaves in one way. I mean, and even the interactions between the children kind of change. This is my understanding, little understanding in children's service. The key thing is, in elementary school, the children are ready to listen to us. Whatever we say, they are yes. And probably, and definitely there's a lot of research went into how they divided the school system into three parts, right? In elementary school, we see a lot of, they listen to us, they depend on us, they say everything that we do. In middle school, you will see some wavering. They have influence of their peers, they have influence, until elementary school, a lot of the influence is only by the parents. But in middle school, now they're being influenced by their peers. Now they're being influenced by their teachers. They're being influenced by the study, whatever they study. They're being influenced by us, right? And then when we go to high school, it becomes a little different. They're more independent. They're made to be more self-responsible and whatnot. And middle school is more a transition, I feel, that there. And what I heard from devotees, again, I haven't experienced this, is a lot of the bullying, like you said, a lot of criticism, and everything happens around middle school, if I heard rightly. And looks like it feels like it's a journey for children, right, to establish their own identity, through this journey, right? And probably I think the right thing is the amount of support we can give them during that journey, because obviously, I think it's much easier to change ourselves than the whole world, right? So, when a child is experiencing that criticism or whatnot, what kind of support we can give them? And I, for example, I grew up in a hostel. I grew up pretty much, from first grade to 12th grade. I was in hostel, right? I experienced bullying. Sometimes, I think back in those days, I felt how I was victim to bullying. But again, it was a short period of time, but there was some growth in that period, right? How I learned to stand up for myself with the help of other people. And eventually, whoever bullied me were my best friends eventually, right? It is just that age, they're dealing with a lot of, how do I say, hormonal change, a lot of crisis that's going on. But I think I'll stop there. But I think it can become unique. But again, if I turn it to Krishna consciousness, right? Meaning in the devotee circle, in the services that we perform, it is up to us, right? Whoever is in charge. For example, how teachers give support, how the school provides support for children with the challenges that they face. As Sunday school teachers, as for example, right, if somebody is good in singing or somebody is good at doing a certain service, if we are in charge of the service, how can we make how can we facilitate that we can enhance their service? They may go into a quiet period for some time, but we should make sure that they don't get disconnected. But once they're able to establish their own identity, they pick it up again. I don't know. I was beating around the bush all over, but I'm hoping somebody on this call who is more experienced, who has older children, who had kids go through these phases, if you can share something, that'll be great here. Everybody's quiet.
Anyways, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yes, yeah. But I think, it is very important when I see that verse, I felt that, right? I think the way you explain, when I saw that verse, we may have children, especially in my service as a Sunday school director, when we have children who are great charavakas, kokilas and whatnot, yes, it's easy to give the mic to them and say, you sing. But there may be a bumblebee sitting out there in the back who's wanting to do that little service. He may not have that quality. He may not have that skill set or whatnot. How can we bring that about? Give that opportunity, right? End of the day, whenever we're feeling envious, for example, with another person, right? Whenever we're feeling, that means there is some sense of dissatisfaction in us, even as adults, right? I hope I could do better, right? In that feeling of, I want to do better, sometimes envy manifests because the opportunity was not given. So as leaders, I think that's the key thing, because end of the day, what is ISKCON? It is an organization which is giving opportunity for people to perform devotional service. In the name of you don't have the skill set, in the name of how do I put it? You're relatively new. We should not discourage them, but we should encourage them with guidance. I think that's the key thing. But that humility also comes into play. If one is humble and is ready to receive guidance, that opportunity should be also be given to everyone. That's looking not from an individual perspective, but from an organization perspective, right?
Yes, Prabhu, that is my point. Teacher or a parent, we know. You brought out a good point, like, a child who is very expressive, we always say, right, attention will be given to the crying baby. So like that, some children are very expert in that, right? They know how to get their things done. Some children, there will be hidden talents, whereas the child will not be an expressive person. Like they can't, say like, oh, I wanted to do that service, but inside them, in that situation, it's getting very difficult. My point is, we should not suppress the child at the same time, whereas the talent should not be like, Krishna is giving talent for everyone. Not the same talent to everyone, but different talent. Every child will have their own interest and good potency. So that should not be suppressed, is my point. But anyway, thank you.
No, I think that's a great point, Mataji. One point I would like to bring up here is, I think as parents and as teachers or whatnot, there is one quality that I've been researching recently. It's called, in school they teach them, it's called assertiveness, right? Assertiveness means while a person may be shy, while a person may be not so expressive, it is very important as caregivers for us to teach them the concept of assertiveness. What assertiveness means is, while you may not demand, shout, yell, and cry, you should have enough strength to express, at least to raise a hand and say, "Can I do this?" Right? So, because often, there is competition in this world, meaning there is limited resources, and within, we have to, for example, if there is only limited time, right, an hour of kirtan time, right, for example, for people who don't raise their hand at all, they will never come to know. So what I'm trying to say here is, it is important for us to teach that quality of assertiveness, to express themselves, even if not like shout and yell and scream, but at least to bring out a word from their mouth. That's very important too. I would also encourage every parent here to research a bit on this quality called assertiveness and see how you can teach each child to be assertive, right?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, yes. All right, any other questions, comments before we end for today?
Hare Krishna, I just want to express my gratitude, Prabhu. Thank you so very much. It was a very stirring conversation, and the bumblebee almost brought me to tears. So thank you very much for it. It's a very churning process that you set everybody into thinking. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, actually, I'll take one more minute to share one more thing in this context, right? I was actually listening to a small snippet that I received about, it was talking about Kartika Vrata, meaning we hear about how the Gopis performed the Katyayani Vrata so that they can get, Krishna as their husband, right? And then this speaker was talking about how, a lot of questions come around how, unmarried girls can, with the hope to get a devotee husband, can perform this vrata and whatnot, But towards the end, she made one point that really struck me. What she said is, once you perform whatever activity to Krishna, and you go to, she said in this context, right, say you perform this vrata, you go to Krishna and say, Krishna, I'm a woman, I have to get married. If it is your will and wish, and she puts all the burden on Krishna, if it is your will and wish, and if it is your desire, help me get a devotee husband, right? And then she told the opposite prayer, right? She said, if it is your will and, if it is your will and wish or whatnot, and say, I want that Prabhuji as my husband. There's a huge difference between the two. What struck me real was, often when we go to Krishna, we go and pray, Krishna, please engage me in your service. You do this, but this is the service I want. We say, I want this particular kind of service. The difference between the first one and the second one is, when we pray in the first way, right? Krishna may fulfill the second desire too. I want to perform X, Y, or Z service, right? Krishna may fulfill that. But when you leave it open to Krishna, that just engage me in your service, it opens a bigger avenue, right? Often envy comes because I want X, Y, or Z, and somebody else is performing X, Y, or Z. But when we don't have specific attachment to one service, but we are open to Krishna, open to the authorities, what kind of service I can engage in. When you're open to that, first, there is no chance of envy because somebody else is not performing. Second one is, that is an area of need. That is actually bhakti. Bhakti in the mode of goodness is duty, but this is what I want to do. But bhakti in the mode of pure goodness, or bhakti at the pure bhakti level, is Krishna engaging me in service of need. This is what needs to be done. I may not be qualified. I may not have the skill set, but being open to that service that is of need is better than I want this husband versus I want a husband, if a devotee husband, right? I thought, for some reason that stuck to me as a big trigger for me whenever I go to Krishna and say, I want to perform this service versus Krishna, engage me in service. I'm open to any service that's needed. I just wanted to share that one point too, right? Sorry. Yeah. Okay, we'll end it here for today. Gandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And please forgive me, like I said, these are my own realizations. If I said something wrong, please forgive me. And sorry for taking overtime here. Thank you. Lingaraj Prabhu, thank you so much. We can end it here, Prabhuji.